All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of Finance and Corporate Services Committee. I would begin by asking if there are any disclosures of pecuniary interest. I am not seeing any. There is one consent item. Can I get a mover for the consent item? Moved by Councillor Schneider. Not seeing any questions. Those in favor? And that carries unanimously. Okay, I'm not sure if everyone understood the next two items for the development charge complaints, but effectively, you might remember we dealt with this last finance meeting, and it was adjourned for further discussion. We're actually hoping to do the exact same thing again, adjourn it to March 9th. So that is for items over here. Discussion items 5.1 and 5.2. So unless there's any concerns with that, I'd look for a mover for that. Moved by Councillor O'Dooney. Any questions? Question? Go ahead, Councillor Stretch. Yep. You have to click in. Yeah.
In 5.1A and B, or?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Okay. It's 5.1 and 5.2. Yeah. Okay, those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. And lastly, we have the municipal bylaw contract for police dispatch, and Ms. Flactu will have a 5-minute presentation.
Good afternoon, Council. The report before Council today is seeking direction around entering into a formal dispatch service agreement with Waterloo Regional Police Services. The City of Kitchener's bylaw enforcement team have relied on police dispatch services for 30 years. Our bylaw staff work 24/7, 365 days a year, and currently respond through police dispatch to noise complaints, fireworks, backyard fires, and other enforcement type calls. Until now, this service has been provided without a cost and without a formal agreement. However, recent amendments to the Police Service Act now allow police service boards to recover costs for non-core services, including dispatch services for municipal enforcement. As a result, in late 2024, WRPS advised all area municipalities that they are moving to a formal, region-wide dispatch model with cost recovery. Along with City of Kitchener, City of Waterloo, Cambridge, and the Township of North Dumfries have opted to be part of the contract. The proposed model would provide dedicated bylaw-only dispatchers, a separate radio channel, and a centralized phone number for bylaw calls. The estimated annual cost to the City of Kitchener is approximately $587,000, which was based on call volume and will be evaluated annually. The contract is slated to begin in July, but WRPS will only begin to recover costs in October. Although the cost is significant, staff evaluated alternative dispatch options, but these alternatives would result in comparable costs while significantly reducing officer safety and response capabilities. Bylaw staff routinely attend situations late at night that involve elevated risk, aggressive behavior, impaired individuals, or attend isolated locations. Continued access to police dispatch is vital to keeping our staff safe, as it allows for real-time safety information, such as property or person flags. Police have the location of our officers and immediate support, such as going on police radio versus calling 911 if police backup is needed. The report before you outlines the service model, financial implications, and the rationale for the recommendation of going with option 1 to remain with police dispatch through a formal agreement. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. There are a couple questions, beginning with Councillor O'Dooney.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Just a few questions here. In terms of taxes, what would that look like when we input this into our budget moving forward, if we do go with option number 1?
I think Mr. Lautenbach's going to take that one. Go ahead, Slotman.
So through the chair, this change was built into the 2026 budget in terms of knowing that this was coming forward, and so it is covered through our revenue projections for bylaw, and so there is no impact at this point. If the cost escalated over time, then there could be an impact, but at this point we have built it into the 2026 budget.
What was the impact?
It's about 0.35%, I think, roughly, Mr. Lautenbach. Yeah,
It will be 0.35.
about roughly 0.35% going on the tax levy for next year is my quick calculation. Mr. Lautenbach confirmed.
So through the chair, it would be in that range, but it's actually covered through bylaw revenue, is how we've covered off the cost, and so there wasn't an impact on the tax side.
Now, do we anticipate this number growing each year, or do we have any agreement with the police saying, okay, it's 587 this year, annually it will be within that same number, maybe moving by like rate of inflation or something?
Ms. Fleckton?
Through the chair, at this time, there's no agreement to keep it at a static cost. It would be reviewed annually. From what we've seen, this is an average of our call volume, so we don't expect that will grow a large amount, but there may be a chance that the numbers are larger, or they may decrease in the number of calls.
I'll come back with my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, thank you. So am I correct in saying that what we should expect with this new arrangement is that response times will be quicker?
Ms. Fleckton, you can stay queued in.
Through the chair. Yes, with the dedicated line, we're expecting that response times will be faster, as they will be calling a specific number that goes directly to police dispatch versus waiting in a queue to have the call received.
And will we be monitoring that response time, or what happens if it doesn't result in quicker response times? Then what recourse do we have?
I don't think there's any recourse to the response time. I think the idea is just having a dedicated bylaw office or a bylaw dispatcher that will send directly bylaw calls to our bylaw officers, versus the reason for the dedicated dispatcher would be for increasing our response time.
Right. Okay. My last question has to do with the downtown core. What changes should we expect for downtown businesses? Like, will we still have those more direct lines to bylaw officers and to the downtown, what's it called, ambassador program? Thank you. Or will this replace all of that?
So the Downtown Safety Ambassador Program, they directly call the officers through their direct line. It's not dispatched through police. Any calls that are dispatched through police, such as noise for a business that is too loud, or any other bylaw calls that go through dispatch, will remain through them. Downtown Safety will not move to police dispatch.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stretch.
Thank you. Have we proposed or thought about a time frame for budget purposes? You know, like a 2-year time frame before we're able to kind of take an average of the amount of calls we're seeing?
My understanding is that it was the police were wanting the annual, and it was not built into a static fee of so that we could build it into the annual budget. It will be reevaluated annually.
Mr. May, you want to add?
Through you, Mr. Chair, on the issue of the costs, what I would say is that this is simply police recovering the costs they have to pay for in order to provide this service to us. And the idea that that is broken out based on call volume is not unusual. So as an example, in fire dispatch, we do the same to the municipalities that we dispatch for. So we don't find it to be an unusual way of collecting the fees.
Thank you. Then my next question, I guess, maybe Mr. May, it might be a question for you. In our centralized system, so the 7412345 number, right now, we advertise to residents to call that number for any city issue. So I'm curious about two things. Will that still be a resource people can use, and then we'll be able to transfer them to the dispatch center if it's bylaw related? And then, just looking at our own data, what will we be able to see, or will there be a report at some point to council informing us about what kind of calls, what kind of call volumes, and what kind of topics generally are people calling in about?
So through you, Mr. Chair, I think what council can take comfort in or not comfort in is that nothing is changing from what we've been doing for the past 30 years. So whether it's the downtown safety teams or our corporate contact center, those numbers are staying the same. It's simply that police is now charging us for that service. In terms of a report, yes, at a future date, once we've had some time and experience, we would come back to council to provide you with that data.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Rabinovich.
Thanks very much, and thanks to staff for the report. But quite frankly, not great news in terms of a report, because in some ways it really appears like police downloading or regional downloading onto the area municipalities from a cost perspective. I just want to go back in history for a little bit of a refresher on this issue, and it's referenced in the report. For better or for worse, I have memory of when this service actually changed back in the mid 1990s to the city of Kitchener, and working with the police on this. And as I recall at the time, police were dealing with all of the bylaw calls. There was, particularly when it came to noise and things like that, it was preventing them from being able to allocate, to respond in a timely manner, and it was impacting their response times on other policing issues. And so at the time, as I recall, there was an arrangement where the cities would agree to take on bylaw responsibility. We would send our own bylaw officers out, and in return, they agreed to deal with the dispatch, which they were already dealing with, but also provide police radios and access to necessary information to protect the safety of our officers when they were responding. So this agreement's been in place for a number of years, but now they're looking to change that. And have there been changes in legislation or something that's allowing them to do this, or before was it essentially a handshake that has kept the agreement in place for the last 25 years or so? I don't know who wants to take that.
Through the chair. The amendments to the Police Service Act is what the police boards are using to recover any costs that are considered non-core service, and they deem bylaw municipal enforcement and dispatch services to municipal enforcement as non-core services.
So basically, the fact that we had an operating understanding, we took on certain costs, they took on certain costs over the last 25 plus years. Now they're essentially saying the legislation's changed, so we're going to use this as an opportunity to bill you. Is that essentially what the message is from WRPS?
I think Mr. May wants to take that one.
That's correct.
So in effect, my analogy of a bit of a downloading isn't that far off?
I'm not sure staff necessarily needs to answer that question.
Fair enough. Staff probably shouldn't answer that question. But to be clear, I mean, the compelling thing here for me in the report is the importance of having a model that allows us to, preserve or to provide a good level of service to our residents, but also ensure the safety of our officers. And essentially, if we don't do that, it does create some challenges. Is that essentially what this report is saying?
Through the chair, yes, as police are the only ones that will have the information on people and property flags, not going with the police dispatch would put our staff at risk.
And at this time, because the regional police is the PSAP coordinator in Waterloo Region, as designated by the region, we don't have another service provider we can go to in this instance.
At this time, there is no other service provider that would have access to this information and could dispatch us.
Okay, and I asked this question because I mean they did raise it as well in the context of $70 million exorbitantly priced communication center at when that debate happened at the region. Okay, I'll leave it at that for now.
Thank you. There's a couple more in the queue. I'm just going to ask a couple questions first. Remind me, I know that the cost is dependent on a couple other municipalities also signing on to this program. Do you have the other municipalities agreed yet, or do we know when they will agree? Because obviously the impact the price.
Through the chair, Waterloo is going today to council this evening, and they'll have their decision. Cambridge and North Dumfries have built it into their budgets already, and we'll be going with just an information document to council later this month.
Okay, I'm going to go under the assumption that Waterloo will be going forward with that, but obviously that would change things that I guess we could discuss. If you could have an update at council when we ratify this. And I just want to be clear too, so it was deemed a non-core service, and when I'm looking at the report before us too, like in terms of the implications, if we went without, if we tried to go on our own, we would lose that access to police flags warning us if there's any incidents. So I'm just curious, so then maybe you don't really answer this, Ms. Black too, but so effectively in my mind then they're saying that this ensuring the safety of our bylaw officers does not count as a core service.
Through the chair, I think the safety for the officers, if they call 911, they will respond to it if we don't go with this service, but it's not considered as part of recovering the costs for continuing to dispatch our services.
Introducing that delay. Okay. Okay. There are a few more in the queue. Councillor Deneau, you haven't spoken yet. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Davey. When did the legislation change that allows them to bill municipalities?
Through the chair, I don't have the specific date of when that changed, but I can get that to you.
Like, I'm not looking for an exact date, but like, was it this year, a couple years ago?
I think it was a few years ago as they started working on this in 2024 and alerted us in late 2024 as to the changes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Dooney, or you comment or?
Just another question for staff.
Yeah.
At any point in time, if we do go with option number 1, can we pull out and venture into option number 2? Or is this, we sign whatever the agreement is, it's in perpetuity?
Through the chair, there will be a clause within the legal agreement that would allow us to leave the contract with police. It would have to be giving them a certain time frame of letting them know that we are going with a different service, but there will be a clause within the agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ioannidis.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Davey. I
guess my question goes along somewhere along with where the mayor was going, and a little bit of the history of how our working arrangement has been with WRPS. At the time, Mayor Barry, the police were responding to noise complaints. So how did that transition? Like, is it our core service or is it their core service? Because, or their service? Because I'm trying to figure out how did we ended up getting the situation that we're in right now.
Mr. Mayor, do you want to respond to it?
I don't know who to address this to, whether it's you or staff or.
Who wants to take it? Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. What we're discussing is the enforcement of a municipal bylaw. So a noise bylaw is an example, and so it is not a police responsibility, but rather a municipal bylaw enforcement.
So they were just doing us a favor about 30 years ago or whatever when they were responding to noise complaints.
I can't speak to 30 years ago.
Mr. Mayor, you want to speak to that?
Well, I mean, things have obviously changed over the years. I think it's fair to say that, back in the day, police officers regularly carried parking ticket books and issued parking tickets and assisted us with bylaw enforcement for things like noise and so on. I mean, there are, as I recall, and staff can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if any of them were around that long, but as I recall, property standards and so on, we did, but things like noise and so on, at that time the police did, but they were finding increasingly as their call volumes were going up, they weren't able to respond in a timely manner because it was a lower priority call, as would be expected in comparison to some of the more significant emergencies. The municipality was getting concerns from residents about how long it was taking for those responses to happen. And as a result of that, there was a negotiation at the time that had us take it over. It meant we needed to hire additional bylaw officers and so on. But in return for that, they provided police radios and I mean, they were already handling the dispatch at that time. But I think as the report notes and as Mr. May indicated, it's a change in legislation a few years back that's opened the window for them to essentially start billing us for it.
Okay, I guess, was there a change in legislation back in the day when they were doing the noise complaints and everything else and issuing parking tickets?
No, it was operational stuff that basically worked out.
So would it be?
So they could still issue parking tickets today, quite frankly, or deal with any of these issues legally. Am I correct on that? If staff can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding.
Through the chair, that's correct. So they have delegated authority through our municipal bylaws that they would be able to issue tickets through our municipal bylaws, but they're still deemed our bylaws, not criminal matters. They would just issue the tickets if they needed to.
Okay. I'm still a little bit confused on how that transition happened and whose real responsibility is. It just seems like it goes along the lines of somewhere down the line, it ended up being downloaded to us many years ago. That's where I'm going. So,
well, in fairness, so, to respond to that, I would tell you that many years ago there was a recognition that the service standard that existed wasn't meeting the needs of the community. The police were very clear that in order to that they could not they did not see a pathway to quicker response times, for example, on things like noise complaints, because other issues, domestics, robberies, those kinds of things obviously are higher priority calls, car accidents, tiered responses. And as a result of that, they weren't able to meet the expectations of the municipality or of our residents. So as a way of addressing that, we took it on But in order to do that, the compromise was okay. You're going to, give us the police radios and all those things that they've since started to bill us for, and now they're also going to bill us for dispatch.
Again, something happened, whatever it did happen, it wasn't right to begin with. And anyways, I just don't feel really good about this change. But
Sorry,
is-
through the chair, if I could add to that, I think one of the things is the Municipal Act 2001 came into play, which then authorized municipal bylaw officers to be enforcing and enacting their own bylaws. So that's the legislation that they would lean on to say that this is a municipal enforcement matter.
okay, so the province made that change.
That's a provincial legislation, yes.
Mr. Chapman, you want to add?
So through the chair, the legislation came into effect in 2019, but I believe the regulations came into force in 2024. And what changed was an exclusion from the definition of adequate and effective policing. And so it excluded one of two functions, being the enforcement of municipal or First Nations bylaws other than prescribed bylaws. So it was that legislation that did not obligate police to enforce municipal bylaws.
Okay, I'm not seeing anyone else in the queue. Just actually one last quick question, Mr. Lautenbach, perhaps you might have to answer this one. So if it would come out of bylaw, but do you recall offhand, has bylaw been posting surpluses in recent years? Because I'm just trying to figure out how this wouldn't be a budget ad going forward, Mr. Lautenbach.
So through the chair, there was an increase in terms of positive variance on the revenue lines within bylaws. That's what was able to allow this to be built in and covered through those additional revenues. Obviously, over time, if this cost increases, those revenues may not be sufficient to cover it. So it was fully covered by positive variances on the revenue lines that allowed us to build it into the 2026 budget.
Okay, thank you. No further questions then. So could I get a mover for this item? I'm not seeing anyone jumping up to move it, but Mayor Rabinovich. And then comments. Mayor Rabinovich.
Yeah, listen, I will move it because despite how disappointed I am that we're dealing with this, at the end of the day, for me, it really comes down to two things. We have a level of service that we want to deliver to our residents. And number two, as an employer, we have a responsibility to look after the well-being of our bylaw officers. And that for me, and I imagine for all of council, is important. It feels a little bit like, quite frankly, the police service is starting to nickel and dime us for things. I mean, we see it here, we see it with the handling of some things in special events and so on. And it's unfortunate, particularly when there have been significant increases at the region, both from an operating and a capital point of view. But at the end of the day, when I balance all of that out, I feel I have to raise my hand to support this. Hopefully the other cities and townships do the same. And if not, then, I think we'll have to have a broader conversation and go from there.
Thank you, Councillor Deneau.
Thank you, Chair Davey. Yeah, I guess, I think it would have been appropriate for somebody from WRPS to actually be here to answer some questions. I think, unfortunately, questions that we're asking would be better suited for them to be able to, explain why they want to do it now and what their reasoning was is, sorry. And I'd hate to think that it's as a result of the city of Kitchener not jumping on board with their new call center. I hope that we wouldn't see that pettiness happen, but it definitely seems like it's coincidental timing. So hopefully, going in the future, if something like this occurs again, maybe we could have somebody from WRPS actually delegate at council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stretch.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to add my comments around the cost and being able to be frugal and plan as we go, and sort of the undetermined amount kind of going forward does give me pause for sure. But along with my other council colleagues, I think definitely in support of the staff recommendation. But I'm curious what we learn and how we can begin to measure and predict what costing could be like, so that we're able to make good decisions about the services we're providing.
Thank you, Councillor Singh.
Yeah, this feels like an unfair cost added onto our tax base, but at the end of the day, as others have shared, this is a very much safety issue. This is critical information that's already available through the Waterloo Regional Police in partnership with them if they're the recipient of the call. For our staff, our bylaw staff, when they're going on site to know exactly what type of circumstances they're arriving in, this is essential information. We cannot talk about costs when it's relatable to safety when it comes to that. That aside, to be honest, we can't really fault Waterloo Regional Police either. At the same time, they have their operations. This is not necessarily their mandate. They're providing us a service. If that's what they want to charge, that's what they want to charge. I wish they were more collaborative. Absolutely. I think goodwill goes a long way when we're all in the same sandbox, helping each other. At the end of the day, helping the same taxpayer, the same resident, as we all do. What I think we need to do is take a step back, not fault around this situation, but say, hey, wait a minute, what does the city of Kitchener do for the region of Waterloo, where we're very, amenable to the service delivery that we provide services on their behest. And that's where perhaps we need to see exactly what our true costs are and go essentially for the full cost recovery on that end. And that's where we become whole. Thank you.
Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Chair Davey. I am in agreement with everything that's been said so far by my council colleagues, and I just wanted to reiterate as well about the safety issue. That piece is most important for our bylaw officers. So I'll be supporting it. Because of that, I agree with Councillor Deneau that I do wish that the WRPS had been here today so that we could have asked questions. I think that piece is important, not only to ask some questions, but to know that our comments are heard as well, and what we're thinking about this. I share Councillor Singh's concern that this can then become an issue of nickel and diming, going back and forth with, well, we do this for you, so we're now going to charge you. And as Councillor Singh so eloquently said, it is one taxpayer at the end of the day. So I do find it disappointing, but 100% I will be voting in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Michaud.
Thank you, Chair Davey. Yeah, I too agree with everything that's been said, but I'd like to reiterate what Councillor Singh said. A little more collaboration would have gone a long way from this, and more information for us. I mean, we are a region, we're cities, we're a region, we're townships. We should be working a little closer together on this. But at the end of the day, it is safety, particularly for staff and for the citizens, and times have changed. It's not like it was 30 years ago. I mean, the issues that our bylaw staff are facing, I think more support is warranted. So I will support this today. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Verbanovich.
I think Councillor Ioannidis hasn't spoken yet, so we should probably go to him first.
Sure, Councillor Ioannidis.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Davey. I guess I'm wondering if I could add an amendment that we write a letter to WRPS that we state that we're of our disappointment, because there seems everyone around this horseshoe seems to be rather disappointed about it, and I think that's the road I want to put up. So, and then to comment, I mean, it's without question. To move forward, we need to protect our staff, and that's the first and foremost, most important consideration in why I will support the recommendation, but I'm just not, I'm not pleased with it. So.
And I think I'll just speak before letting the mayor have the last word. Yeah, my concern here too is like I actually have every confidence that in the long run that our staff could handle this work and do it more efficiently. I believe that we do things more efficiently in the city of Kitchener. The reason we can't is because we're behind the 8 ball and that the police have the information that we need to keep our bylaw officers safe. So it's I feel like we're really tied here. The downloading is annoying. I guess the only part that doesn't bother me quite as much from provincial or federal downloading is that at least it's coming out of exactly the same pocket as opposed to progressive taxation versus our regressive property tax level, but still that doesn't make the situation any more right. So I will take the amendment. We'll vote on that first. Mayor Urbaniak.
Thanks. Yeah, and I'm happy. Sorry.
Sorry, hang on a second. Councillor Andrews, go on.
Yeah, I forgot to say also to the police board as well, not only just Waterloo, police.
So the police board
leadership, but as well as the board.
Okay, noted.
So yeah, I mean, I have no concerns around the idea of a letter. I think, obviously, I fully suspect that they're watching, and I would expect. That they'll look at the minutes, but I think a letter formalizing that makes sense. I will just also say, I think either Councillor Johnson or Councillor Michaud, I think, asked about service standards earlier, and that's not necessarily part of this. I do think one of the things we should it's not uncommon with call center type contracts to actually have built into the contract an expected service standard. And so I would think that we should be able to find out, what have the average response times been for bylaw related calls over the last, number of years, and what do we expect, and actually build that into the contract as an expected service standard within, a year. Some kind of time, and whether that's that calls get picked up within 60 seconds, 90 seconds, whatever that is, I think that's a reasonable expectation, especially if we're paying almost $600,000 a year towards it.
Okay, there's no one else in the queue, so first I will take the amendment by Councillor Ioannidis. Those in favor? And that carries unanimously. And the main motion, those in favor? And that carries unanimously as well. Thank you. So that concludes Finance and Corporate Services Committee. I don't think there's any reason we couldn't jump into special counsel after 5 minutes. Perfect. Okay, we'll do special counsel in 5 minutes, folks. Good work.